Stakeholder.
In gambling, an independent party with whom each of those who make a wager deposits the money or counters wager.
A person with an interest or concern in something, especially a business.
In emergency management, any person or entity with a vested interest in the survival and recovery of a given community. You.
Welcome to Stakeholder Prepping.
Welcome back to Stakeholder Prepping, where you are the stakeholder in your own survival. We are your hosts. My name is Chris.
And I'm AC. And today we are going to talk about apps for preppers. So those phone apps. And we did quite a bit of research on this one. I asked a lot of people in the community. There's a couple of really big Facebook groups that we asked for some feedback. What apps do you use? What are good, apps for prepping? And you get a lot of people, I guess it's weird, like in two camps almost. Chris, are you familiar with the term like single issue voter?
Yes. Somebody who they dedicate their entire vote to one single issue.
Right, exactly. Like whether it's a hot button topic like, guns or abortion and reproductive rights or whatever, it's like people there are people that are single issue voters. And what I'm finding, and I'm going to coin the term, is that there are these like single disaster preppers out there. And when I started asking about what phone apps do you use, you either got, it's almost 50-50. You got people that are like, oh my gosh, yeah, I use all these apps. There's awesome apps that I use. And then you got people that go, it's not going to work in an EMP. And so it's crazy. People are just this single issue. The one thing you prep for is an EMP. And if it's not going to survive the EMP, then I don't need it. And I just think that's kind of dangerous, man.
I'm going to get a flat tire well before an EMP hits. So
I think you probably are. Yeah. And people are just so all about the EMP that they're just not interested in downloading an app. People were kind of combative with me about that. And I thought that was nuts, because that's like saying no to information, valuable information, because at some undetermined point, maybe in the future, there might be an EMP that could possibly interrupt your cell phone.
Yeah, it's like refusing your dinner because your dino chicken nuggies and your mashed potatoes are touching.
Right, exactly. I'm not going to eat an apple because eventually it's going to be a core. I don't know, man.
It doesn't make any sense. And especially when you look at a single disaster prepper, somebody who's so focused on an EMP, we have volcanoes going off in the Ring of Fire. We just had an 8.7 magnitude earthquake at the time that we are recording this, which is a bit ahead of time, but there was an 8.7 magnitude earthquake off the coast of Russia, and people are not prepared for that, but they think that aliens are going to EMP them from space just because they aren't wearing their tinfoil hat.
I don't know. It is very weird. And, we haven't really talked about EMPs a lot, and I wouldn't say I'm totally unprepared for one. I think there's a couple of pragmatic things I personally do. But if you look, people always point to like the Carrington event, right? People are always like, oh, in 19 whatever, we had a coronal mass ejection, right? And like a natural EMP that kind of destroyed the electronic infrastructure that existed at the time. And there wasn't a lot of it, but it did destroy it. And people always point to this like, oh, that kind of thing could happen again. And they saw the aurora borealis in the southern latitudes because there was so much electromagnetic stuff going on in the ionosphere or whatever. And I would counter that. I'm not saying it's out of the question. I would just counter that and say, we've had that recently. Like, I remember this just recently, that we had some pretty serious coronal mass type issues where we were seeing the aurora borealis in very southern latitudes. And I don't think I heard of anything. There were I don't think any satellites fell from space or anything. I don't think anybody's car didn't start. Like, our electronics are pretty hardened against EMI.
And they are until they're not. And
Right.
I've seen videos of vehicles that are on the road getting hit by lightning, and lightning does produce an EMP.
Right.
But multiple strikes directly against the hood, and the navigation system, the dash cluster, all of it just stayed going as normal. And it's one of those things. What do you want to focus your energies on? Is it the highly unlikely global EMP, or is it something like a bad storm that could fry your boots off?
Right. And I'm not saying that an EMP or a coronal mass ejection, a CME event couldn't happen, like the 1 second afterbook. I think that's where a lot of people get that. And I'm not saying that couldn't happen. I'm just saying that you shouldn't let that impact your ability to prep for other things, because there's, just like you said, a lot of other things that are more likely to happen. But if you are in that camp that the EMP is the thing that's going to happen tomorrow, I'll tell you, I still have apps, and here's what I did is I have an old phone. I think we talked about this in like our weird preps episode, that I have an old phone. It's actually the BlackBerry Passport. It is the best phone I ever owned. There are things that I could do on that phone that I
Your
can't.
old BlackBerry.
The Passport specifically, it was the size of a passport. That's why they named it that. Like, it doesn't look like a phone. It's just like a big square screen, but it's got a keyboard, and it has a 1 terabyte SD card. Most phones today, everything's in the cloud. They don't have SD cards. And I have that loaded with a bunch of really cool apps, and then a ton of books converted to PDF, just tons of prepper books, lots of magazine articles, everything you can think about. And then obviously some of the things you talked about, Chris, like, your photocopies of your IDs and your birth certificates and all these important documents and tax documents and your insurance documents. I've got all that on there as well. And that phone, that old phone, I pull it out once every month or two to charge the battery, and then it goes back in a Faraday bag and it's in my safe. So even though I don't think an EMP is going to happen, I still feel like I'm protected against it with that. And it doesn't preclude me from having apps that I think are of value.
I completely agree. And apps and applications, for the long word, there are some apps that you should just kind of have, and things like the messaging app that you use to talk to your friends. I
Sure.
mean, that's a mode of communication. You don't think about it in a crisis scenario, but that is how you let people know that you are safe, or how you communicate how to get resources from point A to point B, who needs checking on, etc. And we're not really going to go into those. This is kind of a advanced level prepper app episode. So you should all have a calculator and like a bubble level. Super simple free download, the bubble level app or another tool based app. Uh, Something you should definitely take advantage of. All the free Google tools like Translate and Google Maps. Definitely Translate, because if you pick up somebody's prescription bottle and it's in a different language, guess what? It can translate for you in real time. But this is a list for those advanced ones that you may not have thought about. Does that make sense, AC?
Yeah, 100%. I think that there are a lot of apps that we won't go into in depth that you should just have. Everything Google has to offer is free and really good. I'm going to talk about some maps. The Google Maps app, very good, and you can download offline maps on Google, but those maps, they do expire. You'll notice that I've downloaded apps or Google Maps. If I'm going to travel internationally, I don't want to use data. I'll just pick the area I'm going to be, and I'll download those maps. So then I'm not using data when I'm on those maps. But I forget what it is, 30, 45 days, whatever. Google comes back and says, hey, that map's expired. Do you want to re-download it? So I would believe that in some kind of off-grid SHTF type scenario, that your phone still knows to delete that map every 30 days. I'm just going to guess. So I don't think the Google offline map will work forever. But yeah, you're right. When you have data available, there are a bunch of apps that we're not going to talk about that you should just have. Yes, the Tooly type apps. There's a really cool one. I think it's just called like Toolbox, but it's got the bubble level, and it's got a Morse code thing that can like use the flashlight on your phone to do Morse code, and it's got all kinds of cool stuff like that in it. And yeah, it's like a toolbox. And yeah, those are just apps you should have. But I think we're going to go into some advanced stuff here. So yeah, do you want to start off, Chris, with a couple apps that are on your list?
Yeah, so I'll start with the weather ones.
Sure.
And there are really two that I use all the time, and I really like these apps. The first one is Windy. So WINDY, windy.app. It's designed for kind of outdoor enthusiasts and things like water sports. It has pretty detailed forecasts and live wind maps, local weather reports. So it's great for surfing or a day at the beach or going out fishing. It's really geared around uh, that outdoor time outside, just hanging out and relaxing. It's a very strong contender for top app for me, at least for weather, because it does have a weather radar and kind of a comparison of those different spaghetti models that we've talked about before. So you can look at which track you think is going to hit, and based on what those predictions from the GOES models are. You can get Windy on the App Store and Google Play. It's it's right at 173 megabytes on iOS, and then 42 megabytes on Android. So if it's an Apple device that you're downloading it onto, like your iPhone, it's going to be a little bit more intensive than on Android. It does have a paid version. I like the free version, but the premium or the pro version gives you more precise forecast models. So it gives you more detail. It also gives you a 1 hour kind of step by step forecast. So it gives you that more granular detail. And then it has a 10-day forecast outlook. So normally it's a 6-day outlook. It'll take it out to 10 if you pay for it. You do get more frequent updates. So you get 4 forecasts per day instead of 1. And then you can kind of do your loop of your radar and satellite pictures so that you can look at where the weather has been and where it's predicted to go. So you can kind of plan around that a little bit better too. Um, it does also, on the paid version, you do get more detailed forecast maps. So additional parameters that you can mix in to suit your needs. The other one that I really like is Ventusky, and that's Ventusky. They're both popular, and they're both known for their kind of detailed visualizations, but they differ in features and strengths. So Windy is it's a lot of time favored because it has an extensive range of weather layers. So dew point, humidity, UV index. It also has webcam access and the ability to set email alerts for yourself. Ventusky, on the other hand, has a lot of historical weather data, and it's going to focus on displaying information from multiple weather models like the GFS, Icon, GEM. Um, where Here's where they kind of line up strengths and weaknesses wise, right? Windy has super comprehensive weather layers, and it has this wide array of data layers that you can add or subtract as needed. You do have the webcam access and the alerts, and then it does have this nice little animation feature that has a play button to animate weather patterns over time, so you can really visualize what you're experiencing on the ground. Weakness wise with Windy, there are some reliability concerns just because of user reports. The accuracy of the predictions in certain locations may not be what you were expecting it to be. And then some people find that the total number of layers and options and everything that you can do with it just becomes overwhelming and cluttered. So it's too busy. With Ventusky, you do get multiple weather models. So it uses data from a variety of global models, which gives this comprehensive view of weather predictions. And that's one of the reasons that I really like it. You also get this super detailed historical view of weather conditions. So if you are planning or doing research on where you want to go, what time of year, that's a fantastic way to do it. And it's a very, very clean and intuitive interface. Weaknesses on Ventusky, it does lack some of the advanced features like the webcam access or email alerts or things like that. And it's not a forecasting tool. It's not going to give you predictions ahead of when things hit. It is all historical. So, in essence, choose Windy if you need a wide range of weather layers, webcam access, weather alerts that you can set to email to you. And if you don't mind with dealing with a more cluttered interface, if you're choosing Ventusky, you're going to be prioritizing the historical data access to multiple weather models, kind of this clean, straightforward interface for all of your weather info. And Vintusky is 131 megabytes. The premium version unlocks a whole bunch of advanced features like unlimited layers and advanced widgets and enhanced notifications, kind of radar on watch, and priority support. So it's a toss up between the two. It's just going to come down to what your preference is. Do you like all of the access, or do you like a more clean and suited look? Are you trying to look ahead, or are you trying to look at real time? And
Yeah, and weather is super important. You've talked about this a lot because, yeah, in your area, you get a lot of really crazy weather shifts that can happen quickly. I haven't used Ventusky. I use Windy. I use that in the airplane just for forecasting cloud tops and stuff like that, icing levels. It gives you all that kind of stuff. I actually really like Windy, and I have paid for it. The biggest difference for me was, yeah, whether you get a 2 hour forecast or a 1 hour forecast. Like the weather changes every hour when you're looking at it on that little scale, or it only changes every 2 hours. That was the only reason I think I paid for it. But weather, super important. The next thing I would go for is maps, and there's a bunch. Like I talked about Google Maps, you can download offline Google Maps. Good thing to do, but again, they do expire. The one app I really like, it's called US Topo Maps. I think it's by at Logis or something. It's a very cool app. There's a paid version that I do pay for. I want to say it's like $8. And what that does is it gives you access to all of these offline maps. Like just you can get the USGS maps, you can get kind of the satellite view maps, you can get hybrid maps, you can actually get the aviation maps. They're called sectionals, the map you use in an airplane. And you can get those maps, and you can download whatever you want, as detailed as you want, and have them all available offline on your phone forever. But it gets huge. If you think about the way maps work, maps usually work in something called a tile, where you've got a little square that is representative of some area at some elevation, some altitude. And as you zoom in, you'll notice this a lot on when you're looking at maps, like even Google Earth, where it gets more detailed as you zoom in, and it's like actually kind of looking at a different picture. Those are called tiles on maps. So depending on how detailed of tile data you want to download, it can get huge because it's super detailed. It's basically like looking at, picture a hybrid Google Earth with topography. Like you can get this super detailed. So I kind of download it for kind of my area, like my AOR, within 5 miles of my house, I've got it super duper detailed. And then anywhere I think I might be, like my bug out location, same thing, super duper detailed. So this US Topo Maps, it's very cool. You can download it without paying for it and just kind of look at what the free stuff gives you. And then if you've got like waypoints, the common waypoint format's called GPX. That's one of the common ones. And there's some other common waypoints formats, but they kind of download in an Excel file, and you can upload them into this US Topo Map app. So that's really cool. You could basically,
nice.
Yeah. So if you had like a Garmin GPS that had the breadcrumbs on, or you went hiking somewhere, you're like, I want to find this place again, you could take that file and upload it into this app, and you would be able to see your waypoints. So it does some really cool stuff with waypoint manager and things like that. It will give you real-time weather from NOAA overlaid on this, which is kind of cool. So just some really really cool stuff, like your tracks and those kinds of things. It's really meant, I think, for the hiker, but it's got all kinds of different layers. So if you're like, I gotta steal an airplane, I'll just download the sectional, and boom, there you go. It's on your on your phone in real time. So I really like that one. Like I said, there's a paid version. I have paid for it. It's a great map. The other one that I think a lot of people will be familiar with is Onyx, and it's like ON, the letter X. Obviously, we'll put links to all this stuff, but Onyx is an awesome tool. Like that's just the sort of the upgrade version of Maps. It's like new Maps. It's cool. It's got a very good user interface. I really like it. A lot of hunters use this, and the reason is because not only does it provide all this very cool functionality like, you know, Google Earth type overlays and really good topography that's important when you're hiking or hunting, but it also gives you the information on land ownership. So it will tell you whose land you are on. And I think that's just a really valuable tool. We talked about that, Chris. If you're ever in a crazy weather event or a bug out scenario where you just need to be somewhere else, knowing whose property you're on, that could be really important. Like knowing whose property you're actually on is kind of a big deal.
Oh, absolutely, especially when they come charging out of
Right.
their cabin saying, "Get off my lawn."
Yeah. Yeah. And for anybody who isn't a hunter, the reason this is really important on Onyx for hunters is if you were to shoot an animal and the animal went over a fence or a property line, I think in most states, maybe in all states, you need to contact that person who owns the land because that animal technically may be their property. So you could be trespassing if you don't ask them for permission to like say, hey, I shot an animal. It jumped a fence. It's on your land now. Do you mind if I go retrieve that animal? So that's why that's important to hunters. But Onyx does some other really cool stuff. They do like game camera integration where you can see your game cameras overlaid on your map and get real-time information out of them if they've got like cellular or Wi-Fi. And then it's got laser rangefinder integration in Onyx now, which is really cool. So you can use a laser rangefinder and figure out your range to a target, and then it will overlay what you're seeing through the rangefinder like on your map. So you can say, hey, I think there's an animal here and here's how many yards away it is, or those kinds of things. It'll overlay on your map. So you would even know using that LRF integration if the animal you're about to shoot is on someone else's land. So all very cool stuff. And they have the Onyx off-road now. They have this backcountry version of it. Onyx is awesome. You should totally check it out. You can go to their website and kind of get an idea for free of what is available on Onyx. Now, here's the bad part. One, super expensive. Like, I mean, if you're a trophy hunter, you're probably laughing at me right now because, $34.99 a year is not a lot of money to you. For the elite 50 state membership where you get every state, it's like $100 a year. Here's my issue with Onyx is although it is offline, right? You can download those maps. They live on your phone. And if the grid goes down, you still have those maps. It's kind of like I was talking about earlier is once that membership expires, I'm going to assume that the app doesn't let you keep those maps even after, if we're talking an apocalyptic event and you've got all this stuff downloaded, I'm pretty sure when that clock is up on your phone, it takes those maps away from you. I would love to know from someone who has Onyx if that's the case, but I'm pretty sure it is, that it knows what the clock or the date on your phone is, and it says, hey, you stopped paying for this a month ago, and it takes those maps away. They would expire on your phone. So I don't think they will work forever. And that's kind of the downside to some of these subscription based apps versus just a one and done type app. You know what I mean?
And a lot of apps are like that. I mean, hell,
Sure.
BMW cars are like that with their
right.
their heated seats now.
Yeah, exactly. Your seatbelt's going to quit working if you don't pay your bill. So
the thing I really liked about Onyx is the way that you can rotate the maps and you can plot a course using the waypoints before you ever even get out there. And then you can use your phone as the navigation guide and see that you are coming up to that point and basically navigate like you're using a map and compass.
Right.
And it's really nice if you are going through like a valley that you've never been in, or if you're just in unfamiliar terrain, you know where you're trying to go, you have that waypoint and it will guide you to it. So if you build your list of waypoints and checkpoints along the way, before you get to your starting point, you actually have a compass that will point to your next spot.
Yeah,
that's
and there's
nice to me.
all kinds of functionality in Onyx I'm not even talking about. If you just go to their website and check it out, if you're not an Onyx user, go look at the stuff you can do. Like it's got smartwatch integration, it's got wildland fire data integration, it's got the hunting units that you're on, and it even has some wind tools that obviously for hunters, you don't want to be down or upwind of whatever it is you're hunting, because animals can smell you coming. Which reminds me, that was, remember in Commando? I just saw that the other day with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah,
I
we're talking a long time ago.
I think this is 80s. This is peak Schwarzenegger, but there's a scene where, they're coming to kill Arnold or whatever, so his general shows up in a helicopter and drops off like 2 Green Berets to like watch him and his daughter, who happens to be Alyssa Milano. And as soon as the helicopter takes off, then the snipers show up and they start, shooting the Green Berets. And Arnold Schwarzenegger says something about, they're upwind from us, so you'll probably get a heads up if they're coming. And the guy goes, you think I can smell these guys coming? And Arnold's like, I did. Anyway, so yeah, the deer and the moose, they can smell you. They can smell you coming. So anyway, yeah, Onyx, awesome app. Like I said, some downsides if we're talking about a Teotihuacan type event, but in your day-to-day prepper life, very, very valuable, not just for the hunting in the backcountry aspect, but even from a like a perimeter security aspect. Really good game camera integration, and knowing, let's say you confront somebody, knowing if they're on your property, super valuable.
I completely agree there. So we've talked about weather, we've talked about navigation. I think next, let's talk about some skills.
Okay.
I really, really like this next app, and I have it on my phone. I actually do read through it every once in a while. It takes a ton of info from various survival manuals, like the U.S. Army field manuals. It's the Offline Survival Guide, and what it is, it's designed to be entirely offline, so you don't have to have an internet connection to use it. It stores as a PDF file in your phone,
And
more
it's
or less.
small, right? I think it's tiny.
It's teensy compared to everything that you get. I think it's like 20 megabytes or something like that.
It's something less than that. Yeah, I think that what that is, because I don't think there's a lot of illustrations, or if they are, they're just little drawings and they just don't take up a lot of space. But yeah, it's a tiny app.
Yeah, and it goes over all kinds of topics. Last week we talked about psychology, so this will talk about psychology if you want to go into it. I'll look at stress and natural reactions and preparing yourself for that type of stress. It goes into planning and kit organization, basic medicine, advanced first aid, how to build shelters, how to get water and water procurement, even how to build a still if you're trying to distill water, which is awesome, or whiskey.
Yep.
Basic fire principles, site selection and preparation for a fire, material selection, all kinds of stuff for that. How to get food, how to get animals, how to set traps and snares, cooking and storage of fish and game, things like that. Survival use of plants, poisonous plants. I know we've talked about that one before.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Try not to wipe your ass with poison ivy. Dangerous animals, not just insects and spiders, but venomous snakes, what kind of areas you should be looking for dangerous lizards in, the things that can get you in a river or a bay or an estuary or salt water. There's all kinds of different animals listed on there and how to deal with them, how to mitigate, navigate, etc. for different animals. It even goes over field expedient weapons and tools and equipment, like how to build a spear from scratch when you've got basically nothing. It goes over different terrains like desert, tropical, Arctic, cold weather, sea. It even has. Do you remember in the Oregon Trail video game? And we talked about it with Andrew when he was on talking about his reenactments. But fording rivers.
Yeah, cocking the wagon and floating across.
That is in this manual.
No kidding.
How to do an expedient water crossing with a load and what you can use for flotation devices.
I have that on both of the safe BlackBerry in the Faraday bag and on my phone right now. And yeah, it's just kind of there. And I like this app because it is one of those apps that it is kind of there and you can read it. If you're on an airplane, you don't have Wi-Fi, or in the apocalypse, you can just crack this thing open. And yeah, there is a lot of really cool info in there. The cocking the wagon thing is funny because I never knew what that meant until Andrew said it. I played the video game and I'm like, I guess, I don't know. I don't have money for an Indian guide. But the thing was that I didn't know what that actually meant. And it's literally like caulking. Like you would find like clay and then like shove it in a sock. And then you would just shove that clay filled sock into some place on your wagon that was going to leak and that you were caulking it. And I just didn't know that's what that was. I had no idea. I mean, now I'm kind of drawing the parallel and I realize I was probably just a stupid child, but until Andrew said it, I was like, oh, that's what that means. I guess I always thought it was like caulk the wheels and float across or something. But it wasn't. You caulked the wagon. You just
Turn it into a boat.
turned it into a boat by clogging the places that would leak.
Yep. And painting over it with boiled down pine tar.
Yeah, pine tar. Yeah, exactly. Yep,
That will ruin your hairdo permanently.
it ruined Jim Kruk's helmet. If you remember, was he a Cincinnati Red maybe back in the 90s?
Yep.
He had the pine tar all over his helmet. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
And the nice thing I find about the survival app is not only is it tiny, it's also very free.
yeah.
There is no
right.
paid or premium version. It's
There's
just
not a paid version of this. Yeah,
free, which brings up another point. Every Army manual, every Navy manual, every Air Force manual, unless it is for a classified system that is still in use, it is public record. So you can just go and download whatever manuals you want and read through them. You can print them off. I have a hard copy of FM 23-10, which is the Sniper Bible.
mm-hmm.
It's a 500-page book, and I've got it double printed. I have a hard copy of it. You can download all of the PDF versions of every Army Navy manual that is out there, as long as it's not for a classified system.
Yeah, that it's funny you say that, right? Because you can download any of those in PDF form. I have, again, they're all on the BlackBerry in the Faraday bag. Every one I could find. I wonder, what's the legality there? Can we post that stuff? We can post links. Can we host it? Because we have the ability on our website to host it. I don't know if we can do stuff like that. Can we host files that
We
are public?
probably could. It's all public record.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, we should look into that. It would be cool if we could host some of those files and just make them available to people. Because I have all kinds of download stuff. Every one of those PDFs, every field manual. Yeah, I have. In this app you're talking about right now, it does pull from most. I think even the verbiage in there is very similar. I think it just pulls from all those survival manuals. And the other one that everybody says, if it's not this app, there's like an SAS survival manual. That's the exact same thing. It's like a downloadable app.
Yep.
And that's I haven't downloaded that one, but a lot of people when we were doing research for this told me that it was either this app you're talking about or the SAS survival manual app.
I will say that building your library and actually reading it and building your knowledge and your skill base is going to put you a lot further ahead than somebody who's got the app but never opened it.
100%. That's exactly right. It's not just having it and downloading it, but it's having that information now and knowing what to do. Because I think, knowing what to do in the early stages of something going down, you're gonna be so much more ahead of everybody who's sitting there going, okay, well, I should read about how to make field expedient weapons or something.
And that's entirely valid, because if you're trying to do it in a stressful situation for the first time, you're going to screw it up.
Yep.
But you're going to stress yourself out even more than the first time you screwed it up when you weren't under stress. So learn how to build a fire without using your fire log or your fire starter. Learn how to build it from scratch. Learn how to light a fire without a lighter. And that way, at least when something happens, if you have practiced it before and gotten even halfway decent at it, you have a base of knowledge that you can fall back onto instead of starving to death because you can't cook the fish that you just caught.
Right. And like Joe Flowers told us that practicing that, I think it's called the L7 trap or whatever, but it's just like it's a snare type trigger. You can use it for a snare trigger. You can use it to yank fish out of the water with a branch. But practicing that bushcraft skill now before you need it can certainly feed you can feed you later. So yeah, you're exactly right. Being able to actually read those things and practice those things is huge. So I'm gonna go government, man. We often tell you, don't participate in the apocalypse. Don't go to the FEMA camp. To have a way to not do that. But I will say the caveat here is that the FEMA app is pretty good. Like the FEMA app, it allows you to receive real-time weather alerts and locate emergency shelters in your area and prepare for common hazards and things like that. So the FEMA app, I know we go both ways about this because I'm not pro leaning on the government to take care of me either. But having this app and having it available on your phone as the fallback, there's some utility to that. It can help you even just preparing for disasters. The FEMA app has some really good stuff on there about, how preparedness strategies, like how to create a family emergency communication plan or what to pack in your emergency kit. Like if you're just starting out, if you're, entry level prepper and you don't know where to start, the FEMA app has some really good information. And then something that's crazy about this is it can give you the real-time weather, the emergency alerts, things like that. Obviously, you need cell connectivity for that, right? But then it can help you evacuate to a safe place, a nearby shelter. And then it can give you those tools to recover. So it can actually get you access to like recovery funds. If there's funds available to you, the FEMA app can tell you how to get those if you do need help after an emergency. So
See,
I have
that's
looked at,
really cool.
it's kind of cool. Like they're like, hey, Chris, we saw that you were in this named storm, and if you don't have homeowners insurance, here's the resources that are available to you. The Red Cross will give you $100 gift card or whatever, but it's got that information available to you. So it's actually pretty cool. Like I will tell you, I don't have the FEMA app. I don't want those guys tracking me, but I've looked at the FEMA app. I've checked it out. It could be a valuable tool to have on your phone and, have it on there when you need it.
See, I think if you do need to evacuate to a FEMA camp or a shelter or something like that, great. You have that knowledge at your fingertips. You know where
Yep.
to go. The other side of that is you know where to avoid if you are staying the absolute hell away from those camps.
Ooh, that's actually a really good point. That if it says, "Yep, here is the FEMA camp in your area," you'll know that this is the point on the map where there's a bunch of very desperate people.
Very, very much so. And you probably want to avoid that if at all possible. I know during Katrina, we keep bringing up Katrina because it is such a perfect case study for disasters,
Yep.
especially at government planning levels. But if the FEMA app existed back then, back in 2005, how many more people could have made it to a shelter or the Superdome rather than being stranded because they had no idea where to go?
Yeah, that's right. And so maybe, if you're the advanced level prepper, there's people listening to this right now going, I'm never downloading the FEMA app. But this can be a very good tool for that elderly neighbor. If you don't want to rely on the government in some kind of SHTF event, maybe telling people that you don't want to rely on the government in some kind of SHTF event isn't a bad idea. Like those elderly people in your neighborhood, like, hey, have you downloaded the FEMA app? Because like if something happens, there'll be a place for you. That's not my house.
Yeah, and you can kind of make friends with old Mr. Barkley across
Right.
the street and help him out without him being dependent or, like we talked about, being a parasite who's just taking resources. That's a good way to kind of offset or mitigate
Yeah.
that toll.
Yeah, good point. And then when he goes to the FEMA camp, he's going to sell you that M1 Grand for cheap because he can't take it with him.
See, I like it even better.
Yep. All right. What do you got? What's your next one?
Well, along the lines of the FEMA app and kind of the government sponsored apps, I know it's not technically government sponsored, but There are two apps from the Red Cross that I actually really like. Um, there's the Red Cross First Aid app that you can download, and it is all about being ready to help yourself and help loved ones. It is completely free. It is a first aid app, so it's advice for common emergencies right at your fingertips. It does have videos. It does actually have quizzes on it, so you can kind of test your own knowledge,
Oh,
and it gives you this step-by-step tutelage that it makes learning really easy and engaging. So rather than doom scrolling on the toilet, scrolling through Facebook videos or Instagram or TikTok or whatever you do, why not use that time to learn something and just learn a couple of first aid techniques?
that's genius. See, I always sit on the toilet backwards so I can eat a sandwich on top of the bowl because you've got that like a table there that's totally unused.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I don't want to see it, but I can.
But if you're not like the reverse cowgirl kind of guy, then yeah, I see you're probably just sitting there doom scrolling all the time. And you're right. This would be a perfect use of that time is to check out the Red Cross First Aid app and learn something valuable.
Yeah, and you can actually get course certifications. You can get CPR certified through it,
Oh wow. That's
which is
awesome.
which is really cool because
Yeah.
there are a lot of people out there that think, "Oh, I've never had to have CPR used on me, so I'll never have to use it," or they think, uh, you know, the Heimlich doesn't work. Well, yeah, it does if it's used right. Just because you saw, grandma smacking the crap out of grandpa's head when he would chew on something too loud,
Right.
doesn't mean that the Heimlich doesn't work. But you can actually get course certifications while you're learning, and it does have a English and Spanish version. So it's all in the same app. You just have to select uh, which language at the very beginning,
Hmm.
and you're set up. You can. There's actually a number that you can text, and the number is 90999 90999. If you text "get first," just one solid word, GETFIRST. If you text that to 90999, you can download the app directly from there and do a lot of things with it.
That's awesome. I really like the one thing I like about that app, about that the Red Cross app is it will tell you right on your phone where the nearest hospital is in case of an emergency. That's the coolest. Like I have that on my phone and I travel all over the place in places I am unfamiliar with. And if you had a medical emergency where you need to get somebody to a hospital, trying to Google hospital and you just get like the phone book, you get like Jimmy's Hospital Wings or something like you just don't know, or whether it's open or not. All that information is available on the app. So I think that's really cool that if you had a medical emergency and you need to get somebody to a hospital right now, when seconds actually count, you open the app, it's right there. Here's your nearest hospital. Here's how to get there.
Yep. And that falls right into line with the second Red Cross app that I have here, and that's the First Aid for Pets app. Um,
Oh, yeah.
Especially middle of the night, you don't know what's going on, you hear squealing, and I mean, you have a veterinary emergency on your hand. This app is the same design as the First Aid for People, but it has quizzes, it has step-by-step guides, it has everything that you would need for a veterinary emergency. And again, it's get pet to 90999. So you can download those apps directly from the Red Cross just through text message, and it'll give you the link and everything. But get pet and get first to 90999. You've got your people emergencies and your pet emergencies all at your fingertips, and they're handled.
I like that. We have a couple of vet listeners. I'd like to ask maybe William is one of our vet listeners. I'd like to ask him about this app, if he's used this or recommends this, or if there's other apps out there for pet stuff, because that's something I don't even think about enough. I should think about it more is, yeah, if you're off grid, being able to treat the pet, because obviously there's like human medications you can give your pet, and then there's human medications you cannot give your pet, and there's foods you can give them and foods you can't give them. So yeah, I would love to ask some of our veterinary listeners, if this is the best app they know of, or if there are better ones. But I really like that. Yeah, you can download the Red Cross vet app and have all that information at your fingertips. That's pretty awesome.
And we'll have links to everything that we're talking about, as well as some other apps that both AC and I like. We'll have links to everything on our website, stakeholderprepping.com. We do a blog every week. And if you sign up and subscribe for it, we're not going to spam you with the emails. You get one a week. It's the blog. It'll let you know what's going on. And you can actually watch or listen to our podcast directly from the website while you're looking at these links that we'll post.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Is yeah, if you don't want to download Spotify or Podbean or wherever else you can find us, you can actually listen on our website. Now, I think you can only listen to the latest 3 episodes, but yeah, you can listen to those right there directly. So you actually don't need to download anything. I know we talked about a lot of people listen on YouTube because it's not blocked by their work or whatever. You could even do it just on our website, and it just you can listen to it directly right there without downloading anything. The last app I want to talk about, and we do this sometimes, Chris, where we kind of go a little extra. We say, here's the app you can download, and then here's something really crazy you can do. Well, I'm going to talk about the crazy thing. So are you ready for me to just absolutely melt your face with the coolest app you've ever heard of?
I'm excited for Indiana Jones
All right.
moments.
This is awesome. So there is an app. It is in the App Store. You've probably never heard of it. It's called TAC or ATAC or CivTAC. And the acronym has changed a lot. This is an app that was originally built by the U.S. Air Force and written on some NASA software, actually. And there was some DARPA involvement with this. And now it's kind of trickled down and available to civilians in some capacity. And Chris, I think you were in the Army a little too early for this, because the Air Force kind of wrote this in early 2000s, and I don't think it hit the battlefield until the last maybe 5 or 10 years even. But
yeah, we did not have this. We had what was called the Blue Force Tracker,
Sure.
which it was static maps, and you could overlay real-time positions of units, both enemy and friendly. You could do a lot with it, but this absolutely blows it out of the water.
You can overlay, but yeah, Blue Force integrates with TAC now. Any of the old Blue Force radios you used actually would integrate with TAC. But if you've ever seen a movie or even like a cop TV show where that guy in all his battle rattle like folds like that tablet out of his chest and he's like looking at stuff or calling in airstrikes or whatever they do, that's actually TAC. That's what they're using. And so it originally stood for Tactical Assault Kit, and now ATAC, it's the Android Team Awareness Kit, or CivTAC, the Civilian Team Awareness Kit that you can use for SAR organizations and things like that. I have TAC that I have to use for my job with certain NGOs that will remain nameless, but I do have TAC, and I've played with TAC a little bit, and I operate on a server that only allows me access to the other people using TAC on that server. And here's what TAC is. It is, in its simplest form, it is a common operating picture. So what TAC does is you open up, whether it's on your tablet or your phone or whatever, the little mini tablets, hardened, ruggedized Android tablets is what most agencies and operators use. And they've got these cool little MOLLE attachments for your chest rig, and it folds out and you can see this thing. And think of it as a real-time moving map, and it's all offline. So you can download TAC. You could go download it right now. And if you wanted to use this as your group, then there's a little bit of software that has to be done. You'd have to have somewhere to host your particular TAC server with the information you want. But here's what it would allow you to do is on TAC, whether you're using satellite or whether you're using like a mesh network. So let's say it's off grid and you don't have cell phones or satellites or anything, you could actually still use TAC in an SHTF event. If you had Wi-Fi, if you had a closed network, you could use TAC on your own little mesh network. And you could even use it if you just had a really good Wi-Fi repeater. You could use it in that area, like on your property maybe. But it provides this really cool common operating picture where I can see on a map, whichever map I want to download. So let's say I download the USGS quad sheets, which is the map I generally use in the US. It will apply topography to that. And so you can actually kind of like tilt the map sideways in there and see the hills and things like that. And you could see everybody that's on your tax server on your team awareness kit on that little Android. So Chris, if you had TAC and I had TAC and we're on the same server, we could see each other on that map. No one else could see us, and we're in real time. And if we had that app downloaded and it was attached to our server, we could have an Android phone or a tablet in any of our assets. So like a vehicle, and then I'd be able to see that vehicle driving around on the map. And some of the, you can just bring in so much data, like you said, Blue Force. And for people that don't know what Blue Force tracking is, that's basically it's encrypted location where you can see your buddies, but no one else can see them. And if you want to come out of Blue Force mode, then everybody can see them, and you allow each other to see your whole group. But within TAC, you could do things like basically kind of like fly a virtual drone. You could go up and get a bird's eye view and sort of manipulate this map and say, hey, what's on the other side of this mountain right here? And you can kind of fly the fake drone over there and look and see what's the topography like on the other side of the map. And this is why like government aerial survey work is such a big deal right now. You've got all these companies that do aerial surveying right now. Like, they're all over the Middle East doing these aerial surveys, and these NGOs in these C-130s. And I don't think I'm saying anything that's secret, but basically they're doing LiDAR and 3D mapping of these areas that we may have to go get busy in. And the reason they're doing that is so they can actually build these 3D models and put them into TAC. So, if I'm the warfighter on the ground, and Chris, you've been in this situation where, let's say I'm running around the streets of Fallujah, I've got these 3D buildings on my TAC, and I say, hey, here I am on one side of the building. What's on the other side of that building? And you've got all this 3D modeling there that's been downloaded as recently as they can get it. So if the airplane with the LiDAR flew over 6 hours ago, you've got very fresh data of all these 3D spaces. So every building, and if a building gets blown up and then they fly over again, now that blown up building has this 3D model. And so you can do all this stuff, and any of your assets, whether it's, air assets or drones, anything with a video camera, you could actually pull up live video from any of your assets in TAC. So in an SHTF group scenario, I could have a webcam, and wherever that webcam is, I would see it on TAC, and I could click it, and it would show me what that webcam sees right now in real time.
It's navigation, communication, assets, and basically it's a tactical version of Life 360 with a lot more capability.
It is, and the possibilities are endless. And if you're a software person listening to this right now, you can download that, what they call an SDK, the software developers kit for TAC, and you can do anything with it. Like, it really is this all things situational awareness tool. So you could, bring in your UAV, your drone data, and you could look at that drone and see where it is, and you could look at the real-time video out of it, and you could see on your map which direction that thing's pointed. And then you can see all of your team on TAC on this map, and you could even do your own map. So that's something that's pretty common is, if I'm going to a hostile area, let's say, the hydrographic office in that country, whatever nameless country, the hydrographic office there may not have the best topographic data. So I could build my own maps using, LiDAR or whatever. I could build my own maps and embed them in TAC, and then we could all be operating on the same map. I could even just take a crayon and draw a treasure map, and then I could give that to Chris, and we could geolocate ourselves on that treasure map, and we could run around and you could see us. But it's just this very powerful tool. So, like, in short, it enhances situational awareness, and it gives you like that common operating picture. And I wish I could talk about all the things that exist in TAC right now that you could do. You can even You can provide like shadow overlays based on the time of day. So I could say, hey, I'm going to move my map up till 6 p.m. tonight. What's going to be shadowed and what's not? Like, think about Will Smith and I Am Legend, where like when the shadow shows up, right? That's where like all the zombies show up.
Oh
He could
yeah.
model that out within TAC and be like, hey, at this time of day on this date, where are the shadows going to be shining between the buildings? You can do that within TAC.
And that's truly impressive. Like whoever thought of it and designed it was really thinking about next generation warfare,
Yeah.
because they have integrated the geospatial awareness, the communication, the collaboration, the situational awareness, the customization, all of it into one neat little package. And I I wish we had something like that back when I was deployed, because it would have been an absolute game changer for sure.
Think about one, saving lives, right? Having that common operating picture, reducing the fog of war, having all of that geospatial awareness, that's going to save lives. If think about like the friendly fire is almost non-existent now. We don't hear about it very much in warfare, right? And why is that? It's because they're all running TAC. Like, you look on the map and you're not going to run around a corner and have to say flash thunder to somebody before you shoot them, because they're right there on TAC. And so just the life-saving aspect, but then think about also like calling in airstrikes. Like, I can zoom into a little point on the map and I can say right here is where I want it, and I push that button and it sends that long or in that military grid, and it sends it back, and that airstrike goes exactly where you touched the map. So it's just such a powerful tool, and you can do anything with it. This CivTac is available. You could go download this right now. And obviously, you're not going to see the military assets. You're going to see whatever is on the server that you are attached to. But search and rescue organizations, if they've got enough wherewithal and a software guy on staff, they use this all the time, because you can really just look at mountainous terrain and topography, and you can see all your assets as you're going and doing like grid searches and things like that. So it's just such a powerful tool, and go check it out. And like I said, if you're a software person, you could do anything you want with TAC, and it's open, and it's totally open source, and it's legal now, and it's there is actually even an iOS iTac does exist, but it was built around the Android platform. And because it does, I will say it sucks a lot of battery, because you're all, like, always on, like it's always running. In order for it to work correctly, it has to have access to your battery and your GPS all the time in the background. So buy $100 Android tablet and download it on that and use that. And that's what those little like chest rig kits are made for, right? You can put it on the outside of your tactical vest, and you've got this little like ballistic, Magpul branded little open up thing that's got your tablet inside, and it's running Android software.
And think about what you could do with that from a planning perspective. Like if your bug out location is kind of up at the top of a hill and there's a lake that you could draw fresh water from or run a well to, but it's 600 feet away and another 100 feet down. Think about how you could plan your well piping just
Yeah.
to keep it covered, keep it protected, but you're
Yep.
still making the most efficient use of your time. That's huge.
And dropping waypoints I drop a waypoint, and in real time, you can see that waypoint. So, and you can encrypted text over this. So I could literally, if we are 100 miles away from each other and we've got some good, a mesh network set up where we're on the same server, I could easily drop a waypoint somewhere and then text you over this encrypted on TAC and say, hey, Chris, I just dropped a waypoint. It's, Alpha 3, and that is a cache, or that is a well I found, or that is, whatever it is, a house I haven't searched, or whatever. The possibilities are totally endless, because within this TAC environment, you can do anything on the map. You can set up, like exclusion zones. So you could say, hey, I'm drawing a circle here. Don't go into that area for whatever reason. That's where the zombies are, or whatever. You can draw those. You can basically geofence an area, and then you can get an alert when any of your assets enter that area. And think about, just for like calling in like airstrikes in on the battlefield, just invaluable, because I just say, hey, here's what my blast zone's going to do. I'm drawing a little circle, and if any of my little blue dots go in there, I'm going to get an alert immediately.
Or tracking down your livestock, your animals, your dogs.
Yep.
If they get out, you know exactly where they are, and you can just
Yep.
go hunt them
Yep.
down.
Yeah, I mean, basically any Android device running TAC on your server basically becomes an apocalyptic AirTag.
I love it.
So anyway, that's TAC. It's kind of cool. You should look it up. You read up on it. If you Google like TAC/ATAC or the Android Team Awareness Kit, you'll find this thing. But yeah, anytime, I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize that the movies try to be as realistic as possible. And you always see that in the movies. Somebody like opens up this little tablet on their chest rig and they're like looking down at stuff. That's actually what that is indicative of. They're showing in real life, they would be using the Android Tactical Assault Kit.
That's phenomenal.
It's kind of cool.
Hollywood
It's like,
finally got something right.
dude, it's like Prepper 601. This is your advanced degree in prepping. If you can figure out how to run TAC for your group, and obviously you could run it right now, not on like your off-grid mesh-tastic network. You could just do this right now, and it will work as long as you have like, cell service.
Perfect. Well, before we wrap this one up, I'm super excited for next week. I don't want to give any spoilers yet, but I am super, super excited for next week.
Next week is going to be awesome, and let's see what happens. I'm excited.
Phenomenal. Let's meet back next week and see what we can do. But until then, remember, you are your own stakeholder.